I just can't believe Hodinkee did this. Hodinkee knows so much about the watch market. They have been the leading voice for a long time in many ways, and I just cannot believe they took a shot at Tudor like this. This is bizarre to me.
It's interesting. Let's get into it. Woo.
What is up, Watch Fam? I am Christian, the curator of the Theo and Harris Vintage Watch Shop.
My name is Sam, and today's episode is brought to you by Huckberry.
Our friends over at Huckberry, we love them. It's one of my favorite places to shop, for real. So let's talk about them later. I can't believe Hodinkee did this. This is insane.
Is interesting to me.
Oh my God. So first of all, this is Electrico Tequila. We'll talk more about this later. They're not a sponsor. We just love drinking it. And this is wild. So we're talking about a couple of things today. And the first one, I'll give you like kind of crib notes. Like Hodinkee just released a watch in collaboration with Longines that is literally a Tudor watch, and it's insane. The Longines Sprit Zulu Time Hodinkee is literally BlackBerry Pro. This is insane. We're going to get all into this later, and I'm like, is it April 1st? That's a stupid joke, but I really thought that to myself. I was like, are they screwing with me?
I have a lot of questions for Hodinkee.
Yes. That, and then the conversation is so much deeper. We're also talking about a really interesting Parmigiani. We're going to be talking a little bit more about smaller brands, independent brands, bringing Sam in, broadening up the scope a little bit. So we're going to do that.
Do
and then also enamel dials, my love letter to enamel dials, my dream watch, if that's even such a thing. Period. So, very great, educational, beautiful episode ahead of us.
First off, happy holidays. Cheers.
Happy holidays. Bon Nadal. Merry Christmas, everybody. The first topic probably hit on is Parmigiani.
Okay.
This is a really interesting space in the market. And this is a really interesting, current place we are culturally in luxury watches, okay? Mm-hmm. Rewind a little bit, go back to the 70s and Gerald Genta's idea for the Royal Oak, and then the Nautilus a little bit later on was revolutionary. The idea of a stainless steel sports watch, redefining what luxury looks like. Because before then, luxury had been really thin leather straps, gold grandpa watches, be it complicated, time only, think Patek 96, think Patek 1518, think, all these different complicated calendars and all these simple watches from the really elegant brands. Even look at Omega. We're talking about time only, yellow gold. These are achievement watches. These are class watches. These are grandpa watches. Mm-hmm. Gerald Genta comes in and says, no more. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be the designer of the watches for the next generation of wealthy people, the young men in the world, the young women in the world, because the watches ultimately were produced for both genders, that are rich and will be rich in 10 years. We're no longer serving grandpa. We're serving grandson now. And it changed everything, okay? That's not the only time this has happened, right? Fast forward now and we're seeing it again, okay? We're seeing this birth of this new class of watch. The luxury watch, often in precious metal, but not exclusively, on a rubber or textile strap.
Yes.
Okay, this Parmigiani is a great example of where this is going, which is something we never anticipated before. I think the most iconic version in this class is the Daytona on Oyster Flex. What do you think about that watch?
Daytona. I mean, it's a Daytona. It's a beautiful watch.
Naturally.
The Oyster Flex is cool, and I used to work with someone that had it on the Oyster Flex.
White metal, yellow metal?
I believe it was white.
So white gold.
White gold. Or no, I'm sorry, they had the rose gold.
Rose, nice.
They had the rose gold, my apologies. And that is just a beautiful watch. Mm-hmm. It actually kind of opened me up to the idea of a rose gold. If I was going Daytona, I don't think I'd go rose gold, probably go white gold. So for me, I love the white gold. I just think it's a beautiful watch, and I love that it meshes or blends a sports watch, especially on a rubber bracelet, and elegance in this beautiful watch that you could dress up with the suit. It's almost like it shouldn't work, but it does work. It's this weird space in sports watches, I think.
Totally. The Oyster Flex as a bracelet was kind of innovative because it has this raised center or sides that allows for a lot of breathing room, but it filled this interesting place in the market for the guy that didn't really want a stainless steel Daytona. He felt like maybe he was past that on a luxury watch level. He only did precious metal.
You mean you?
Exactly. This was designed for men far richer than I. Wanted to do precious metal exclusively, but really didn't love like the actual weight of the full white gold bracelet or the yellow gold bracelet, or didn't like the bling of it. So this was the full white gold, the full yellow gold, the full rose, a little too much, and the stainless steel wasn't enough. This was the solution, and it just feels sporty, right? This is Rolex's answer to a movement that was maybe started by Audemars Piguet with the offshore, or Hublot, right? This is Rolex's, I think, solution to that kind of experiment. And I think that Rolex has done it better than anybody.
Yeah.
Okay. But now Parmigiani has taken an approach that is hot horology. Okay. This is a really interesting watch. Now the Rolex Daytona in precious metal on the Oyster Flex is $41,000. Correct? The Parmigiani is $35,000.
And is that the chrono or the
time only?
Time only.
Time only.
Perfect.
So, and then which is kind of where we'll keep it. They offer it in stainless steel. They offer it 18 karat rose gold. Those are the two metals, and they're really interesting watches. They're 41 millimeters in diameter. They're 9.8 millimeters. I would say thick, but that's actually really, really thin. Okay, it's classic Parmigiani design language, textile strap, which is the whole point of the conversation. But now they're bringing in movement making that is just superior. They're bringing in dial finishing that is superior. They're bringing in bezel finishing, case finishing. This is not a Rolex. This is far, far better than a Rolex. You can't even compare these two things. A Rolex is a beautiful, but mass-produced wristwatch. These are more artisanal. This is more handcraft, okay? This is a watch guy's watch, okay? A couple more notes, and then I want your thoughts. The bezel, this fluted bezel, okay, actually has fewer ridges than the other Tonda, right?
Yes.
Because they think that a bezel with fewer ridges, meaning broader ridges, has a more sporty look.
Yes.
Super smart. I love the honeycomb bezel. What are your thoughts?
I think that
honeycomb dial, rather. I'm sorry.
I think that this watch is a perfect blend of different textures. When you look at the fluted bezel, the honeycomb dial, and then also the strap. It's a rubber strap, but it's got I don't even know not a grain, it's got a. How do you describe that?
It's odd, almost like weave texture.
Yes, but again, it's all these different textures that in my mind, if you were to say, oh, what if we did all three of this on a watch?
Yeah,
it's like, I don't know. And then you see it, and it's like, wow. And this is a watch company that I am newer to. I'll be completely honest.
Yeah, of course.
But this is just a beautiful piece, and it rides the line of sport and elegance.
Yes.
In a perfect way.
Yep.
I was also reading, I believe, with this watch too, the crown itself is a little bit bigger to also make it look a little bit more sporty in design and in look and feel.
Totally.
I don't know. It's simplistic in that it's a time only, but texture wise, it's a beautiful mend of all these different.
There's so much going on at a textural level. There's so much going on here. It's not just brush polish. There's a handful of textures here. It's amazing. And I do offer it in stainless steel as well, which I think is really kind of ingenious, right? They're answering the Oyster Flex Daytona, which is only in precious metal, with a comp, with a more affordable, obviously less complicated, but far more, artisanal, hand-finished, really geeky watch. But they're also offering it in stainless steel for $15,000 less, $19,500, and that's a lot of money. God knows it's a lot of money. But you can either go to Parmigiani and be treated like a king and spend $19,500 on truly hard horology, I think, or you can go to Rolex and kind of beg for a watch that is, I think, on a very objective level, inferior. I love the Daytona, but it's a different kind of watch. Obviously, complicated versus not, but this is a fantastic solution. I'm sorry, one Aquanaut comp, and in the rose gold, an Aquanaut comp as well. You're talking about $19,500. Can get it. The Aquanaut, you can't get an Aquanaut, right? And in rose gold, this is $35,000, and the Aquanaut in rose gold, I think, is $47,000. Big difference in price, guys. Really big difference in price.
I think that when this is a weird way to maybe look at it, but when you look at Rolex can be the very high end chain steakhouse that everyone, you have a beautiful steak. They really sell you with the sizzle. It's a great time every time. But I don't know. Maybe it's a little loud sometimes. Maybe it's whatever.
Yeah, the steak is good.
It's good, but it's not. It's not. It's not
boutique. It's not boutique restaurant.
Well, it's almost like to the viewers. If you've ever been to Catch in New York, and I don't know where else they have restaurants, but it's a great meal. It's really good. Whatever. I thought the steak was a little overseasoned.
Yeah.
It was, I don't know. They didn't let the steak speak for itself. What I'm getting at is what the Tonza is that Michelin star restaurant where they really care about your business and they're happy you're there.
Yeah.
You know what? They're going to pour you an extra glass of wine on them as a thank you because you spent so much money.
For sure.
And the other thing that they'll do is they'll show you the wine cellar after.
Totally.
And I don't know if you're going to get the same respect and same experience going to the catch.
Completely agree with you. Parmigiani, like many smaller brands, is a kind of brand that needs support, right? They need to work for your love, right? Period. It's not a default. They have to work for every dollar that they bring in very, very hard. Rolex, obviously, there's a big separation in Rolex between the people that are working very, very hard for your money and then the people that are taking your orders. At Parmigiani, I don't think there's a separation. I think that every person that works there is forced to work very, very hard to kind of stay employed, right? To keep earning your business. Yeah. It is not a given you buy a Parmigiani, period, end. It's just a different game.
Yeah, and I mean, look, you and I both love Rolex. We just did a whole video on why we love Rolex.
Rolex.
The question, or what I'm going to bring up is how many conversations have you had with someone where they go to an AD and they have a miserable experience?
Many.
All the time.
Many.
Whereas I don't know, and not as many people know Parmigiani, but I feel like the people that have purchased from them, I would like to assume they have good experiences.
I have a really good friend that's been considering buying a Parmigiani for years.
Has he spoken to the
I would say a year. I'd say a year. And I have almost no doubt he'll pull the trigger on one. But it's a brand that it appeals to people that are really deep into this. It appeals to people, and they don't need mass market because they're not producing mass market quantities. I'm a huge fan of this brand. I'm a huge fan of this watch. I think this is an incredible piece. Could it do without date? Maybe, but I don't think they did a bad execution. I think it's still really nice.
I like you with date, honestly.
It's nice. So God bless them. Good for Parmigiani. I think this is a great piece. And that's it. Look at the
chrono is just...
The chronograph in silver, $26,500. Do we have the specs on this? Obviously steel. Yeah, 12.9 millimeters in thickness. That's nice. 42 millimeters. This is a great watch.
Oh my God.
This is a very serious brand. This is a brand to be reckoned with. And they've been around for a while. I never should have sold it.
What's the matter with you?
That was a mistake. That was a big, big boo-boo. But
big boo-boo.
Put him in the boo-boo box. Yeah.
In the boo-boo box.
All right.
You want me time later?
You want to move into to Hodinkee?
Yeah, let's talk about this.
Let's move into the Hodinkee conversation and then wrap up with the enamel dial conversation.
Today's video is sponsored by Huckberry.
I love Huckberry.
Huckberry is really a men's shopping heaven. Yep. Barber jackets, boots, drinkware, cigars. I mean, a little bit of everything.
It really has an outdoorsy vibe. I love how durable everything is. I have my trusty wax jacket for the fall is Huckberry. My cooking apron is Huckberry. I have a lot of I have double RL stuff from Huckberry. I love Huckberry. The clothing, the quality of the clothing is just unbelievable. You could literally take it to hell and back, and you're going to be great in Huckberry. I stand behind it firmly.
With the holidays around the corner, they're actually highlighting their gift list. If you go to the Huckberry website, they have great little gifts, everything from cigars, Timexes, fire pits.
Well, it's a beautiful tabletop fire pit. It's super cool. We love Huckberry. There's like an explorer's kind of aspect to Huckberry. It's just one of my favorite American brands.
Being that Huckberry is such a good friend of the company, they actually sent us a bunch of stuff too that Michael actually has, and on his next video, we'll talk in a little bit more depth of what they sent over.
That's amazing.
Yes, Michael is still part of the channel.
Yeah, of course.
But anyway, thank you to Huckberry for being sponsoring this video.
Absolutely. Everyone, I highly recommend you go over to Huckberry when it's the holidays or not, but especially, of course, this time of year. Head on over to Huckberry and just explore an incredible collection of goods, of all different sorts of goods, from glassware to jackets, everything, cigars. Head on over and explore. Hodinkee has a lot of corporate relationships. Hodinkee probably has more corporate relationships than any other watch blog or writer or influencer in the space. Okay. Hodinkee partners with Longines regularly. Hodinkee partners with Tudor regularly.
Yes.
Hodinkee, separately, also has done many, many limited editions that have set the world kind of on fire when they were released, and that's great. Hodinkee puts a lot of thought. I would say that Hodinkee puts in more thought to their collaborations on a product level than anybody else. I've seen a lot of other people, frankly, like Revolution Watch, that do it and don't do it as well, in my, I would say humble, but in my opinion. That was funny. That was a dig at myself. See, I can make fun of myself too.
That's what you do.
It is what I do. So Hodinkee does a great job, which is why I'm awfully surprised that Hodinkee would release a Longines Sprit Zulu Time that is almost a twin, right, to the Tudor Black Bay Pro. Same dimension at 39 millimeters, a little bit thinner, but I mean, maybe by a millimeter, okay? And it's a couple $100 cheaper, which is also insane. I am astonished that they have done this. Truly. I don't care they've done it. It doesn't matter to me. God bless them all. I hope that Longines makes a ton of money with this. I hope that Tudor is not offended. I hope that everything is cool in the world of Hodinkee and these brands. God bless them all. I'm not looking to start trouble. But I am objectively surprised that Hodinkee thought this was a good idea, that Longines thought this was a good idea, and I'm surprised if Tudor thinks it's a good idea. The only scenario in which I can see Tudor thinking this is a good idea or being okay with it, if they were asked, is if because this is limited, and they'll sell out, because everything Hodinkee sells out, Tudor thinks that they will also make money on the spillover.
You think so?
It's possible.
I mean,
could Tudor be looking at this at marketing they didn't have to pay for?
What other upside would this be? Is there another upside?
To Tudor?
To Tudor.
To Tudor, no. The only way that it's an upside is if they make money off of it, if there's spillover. Otherwise, you just stole my design. That's all you did.
So I have a few questions for you. I guess let's start here. It's just, I mean, okay.
It's shocking.
The hands are different. They use actual numbers for the hours, and the bezel's fluted. Is like kind of the big.
It's coin edge,
okay,
and
coin
on
edge,
the side, like you know what I mean. Like visually, I mean, it's from head on. It's the
no, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Which is like I don't know. It's interesting to me. I'm curious to just, I'd love to just talk to the person who was kind of running this, and I'd love to just get their thoughts on this, because it is crazy. And the thing is, I love the original Zulu Time.
Yeah,
the original's great.
Longines is one of the best watches
I think
out there.
that the colors are great. I think they did a phenomenal job with it.
Yeah.
I don't know why you would make it so similar to the Tudor. The question that I was going to ask you, or that I have for you, is if you were doing this collab, and you were doing the Zulu Time, what would you have done to keep it a little bit more original and separate than the Tudor?
So that's the question, right? Like, it's limited to 500 pieces. And if Longines and Hodinkee made this not a Black Bay Pro ripoff, they would have sold out the same 500. There is no question that there were other ways to sell 500 collaborations between Longines and Hodinkee. So if there was no money to be made in the robbery, why rob? Why poke that bear? Why fuck around? I mean, that to me is what makes no sense. That's where you lose me, okay? Because if you would have just done, I don't know, it doesn't matter, a green dial, a yellow dial, anything, a different color hand. It could have been, okay, you didn't want to do ceramic bezel, fine, you could do steel, no problem. You could have done so many things that wouldn't have been a direct ripoff that it confuses me why you chose to do that. Again, unless you're thinking on a far higher level than I'm thinking at, which is totally possible. I think it's in fact probably likely. And they all got corporate approval. Tudor didn't care. Longines didn't care. No one cared. They said, hey, let's listen. It's going to drum up conversation. It'll get people talking on the forums.
Maybe.
We're all good. Maybe that's possible. Maybe this is like just kind of a conspiracy theory. They're just all manipulating us and they're all on the same side.
I'm going to get my tinfoil hat.
Yeah, right, exactly. but it's odd. I mean, they're owned by different groups, right? Longines is a Swatch company, Tudor is a Rolex company. I mean, the whole thing is kind of weird. Like, I highly doubt that Hodinkee thought it was a good idea to poke Tudor, because Tudor's owned by Rolex, and I just don't think Hodinkee would ever do that. So I tend to believe that there was corporate consensus on this, and everyone was just like, yeah, go ahead.
Gotcha.
Whatever.
So yeah, I just feel like there's so many different ways they could have went with color and everything that just make it different than what they did.
Yeah.
The one thing that I do have to say that I do enjoy that Hodinkee did is how they're kind of marketing this on their website.
Oh, this is amazing.
Getting someone like John Goldberger, to first off, it's photograph him with this watch. Also, beautiful blazer.
John Goldberger is probably the most tasteful man in watches. It's unbelievable how much I take.
To have someone like him and other collectors, and then ask them questions, almost like an interview style. Like, honestly, I almost wish they did this in print, like, and they sent it out. Like,
well, Hodinkee does do print magazine once a quarter, and
I mean, like a one-off though of just this, a 3-pager, something like that. I think would be like. I don't know. Just go to how cool this is. I think they marketed it very well. Yeah. I just don't think that I don't know. I don't love the execution of kind of what the collab is itself. As much as I do enjoy the watch.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't put a lot of work into the development of the design. That I'll definitely stand behind.
But the marketing is
is impeccable. And what I love about it is it's copy driven, it's interview driven, so it's deep and it's watch geeky, and like a sort of release like this on the content level is good for the watch industry.
Yeah,
like this is good. This gets people reading. John Goldberger is endlessly interesting. Everyone else here that was interviewed, James Stacy, and I think that not only was it incredibly cool. And this is good for the watch industry, but there is just no way that James Stacy didn't see that this was a Tudor ripoff.
Yeah,
and then also said, like, saw it because he definitely saw it, and then said, yeah, I want to be a part of what I think is going to be divisive. No. If he's in it, that means that he had inside baseball, that everything was cool in the Western Front, all the brands were cool, everyone involved was hip, and we're all good. Like, that's the evidence to me. That is an industry figure. That is a legitimate person. Not to say that Caitlin Koch is it. I just don't know that individual. And John Goldberger, who I love, just frankly, he likes good photos of himself. And I don't blame him because I do too. I don't think that James Stacy, of course he likes good photos of himself, but I don't think that he would be as driven by that. Right?
Well, he looks like a badass in these photos.
The man has a career, at stake,
No, I like it. Plus, I also didn't realize it's titanium. So it is a lighter watch too, which is kind of interesting. But again, the design is the same thing.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Period. End. So it's anyway. That's the Hodinkee conversation. God bless him. The watch on your wrist, unlike your iPad, will mean something to someone one day if it doesn't already. Something that will make them smile, walk a little taller, surely at some point cry, but it will mean something. Okay, so for our last conversation, I just want to talk to you about something that I'm endlessly interested in these days, something that I fawn over on a regular basis, and it's enamel watches. Now, I'm not going to be one of those fake people on watch social media that tells you, well, this is the grail because I can't afford it. Everyone loves doing it. They have got 3 Ferraris in the driveway and they tell you they can't afford a $100,000 watch because they think that faux humility is becoming, right? I won't do that to you. I'll tell you that the reason that I won't buy this watch is because it will never be offered to me. Okay, that is the real answer. Okay, these, and it's not just Patek. Okay, and we're going to talk about Patek Philippe. We're going to talk about JLC, Cartier. We'll talk about and the history of enamel dials. Okay, so enamel as a material dates back to the 13th century. Okay, it was introduced into watchmaking, particularly pocket watches, in the 16th century. Okay, enamel is this meeting of fire and basically sand, right? It's like this beautiful artistic glass, really. And again, it's done in multiple different styles, right? And all brands do it differently, and they can achieve it at different price points, of course. And again, my dream is through Patek, but I would do the same thing at the same, if someone can achieve the beauty here, the color, the texture, I love the playfulness, right? I think that the Hermes tie is such a cool thing because the Hermes tie which is most worn by like bankers, right? It makes the banker fun. If you've ever looked at the motifs on the Hermes ties, they're fun. And it's about as much fun as a banker can have with his wardrobe. Yeah. Am I wrong?
I agree.
And I think that's such a cool thing. I think that the enamel watches they're just playful and they're innocent. And
what's also fun about this is, and we talk a lot I feel like about, watches being art in the way that they're just constructed, how they're made, all of
Yes.
these things. And this is like taking it a step further. It's like, yeah, like it's all of that. And we're going to put art on the dial.
Yes.
And it's cool.
Yes.
It's fun. It's colorful. I mean, granted, it's like, I don't know if it's $100,000 fun, but I get why people would be attracted to them. I've actually never seen one of these in person. I know the one that you love is the one with the fish.
Yeah. I love the fish. Not to say that there isn't another that I would love, because I'm sure that there are others that I would love. But I've always looked at this fish enamel from Patek Philippe from 2021. I've always loved this watch. When it was released, I remember it. I don't even know what fish that is, and I've never certainly caught it. I've never even seen that fish before, albeit maybe in documentaries. But for me, fishing is such an important part of my childhood with my dad, and maybe I'm being overly nostalgic about it. Maybe it's just the colors that I'm attracted to. Maybe it's the message of the enamel dial. Maybe it's the simplicity of time only paired with this crazy. It's like this canvas, for fun. Of course, Patek also does enamel in much simpler ways with their split-second chronographs, which are incredible. We're so used to today rare and unusual materials being used in cases. Sapphire, bronze, carbon fiber, to name a few.
Oh, your favorite carbon fiber.
My favorite carbon fiber. But enamel is something that's been used in watchmaking for much longer than any of those, and I think it's still underappreciated. And maybe it's underappreciated because it can't or isn't achieved at an affordable price point. So what's the sense in getting excited about it if I can never own it? But it's just I don't know. I think in the year 2023, I don't think I used the word sublime once.
Okay.
I think enamel is sublime.
Okay.
I think it is calming. It is overwhelmingly beautiful. It's a wave that rushes over you. The color, the texture. I really am amazed by it.
Well,
I'm actually more impressed by the enamel than I am by the movement, because the movement in those Calatravas is not astounding. It is an undersized movement. It is not astounding. The dial is art, and it is achieved by so few people. I'm sorry, I'm done.
No, so I mean, my favorite Sublime song is Bad Fish. So going back to this fish, that's an interesting segue. But what this watch reminds me of, when you showed me this watch recently, the first thing for any 90s listeners out there, any kids that were born in the 90s, or any parents that are fathers that have kids that were born in the 90s, if anyone remembers The Rainbow Fish, it was like a childhood book that my parents would always read to me. Yeah. That was the first thing that I saw of or thought of, and to be taken back to that book, which I have not thought about in years.
Yeah.
And for a watch to do that to me and bring me back to like this weird point in childhood where nothing really matters, and it's like, what do you really have to think about? It's like you just go to school and I don't know, it's like you play some video games, like that's it. And it's like, I don't know, like there's definitely some comparison there to looking at watch collecting.
Totally.
And just kind of bringing the kid out in you. And these watches definitely do that. The split second is obviously a little bit more, I'll say, professional in the enamel dial.
Yeah.
I love the fun that Patek has done with.
Look at that.
I mean, the handcrafted.
It's a bird of prey. I mean, that is incredible.
They do this right.
Incredible.
They do this great.
I mean, it's ridiculous, guys. That is silly. It's a silly watch, but just imagine owning it and looking into it. I know this sounds so ridiculous, and I'm definitely making clear how long I've been in this, because I'm sure that many of you are watching this wearing your Daytonas saying, this guy's nuts.
Well, you are nuts.
And God bless you and your Daytona. I love the Daytona. I would love a Daytona. I'm not dissing you at all. I'm just saying that, this isn't even something you'd consider until you've been in this for a long I've been in this for 10 years, but that's kind of a long time. And I've been into this every day for the last 10 years. Every day. I didn't miss a day. So when you're in this for every day for the last 10 years, you just see so much, and you start to learn about what resonates with you and what beauty is out there, and that beauty lies in handcraft. Yeah. And this is the epitome. This is the end.
I mean, this is putting art on it. This is putting art on a watch. Like, you can change the background of your Apple Watch.
Yeah.
Like, this is it. This is the OG.
Yeah.
This is just it's just different, and I mean, it's beautiful.
Yeah. Conor McGregor wears one.
Does he? I didn't know that.
He's a big Patek Philippe fan.
I knew he was a big
He gets
Patek guy, but
allocated whatever he wants,
I mean,
obviously.
good for him. And even, I mean, moving off of Patek, if we can, to the Cartier, the Santos.
Yeah,
I mean,
the new Santos Dumont, a couple years old, but they made it in a couple of colors: cream, red, and black. And this is beautiful. Not only enamel bezel, but case as well. It's amazing. This is an amazing watch.
I love it. I'm a fan of it. The JLC sick.
Jaeger LeCoultre with their Reverso has become quite known for doing enamel case backs. Again, astronomically expensive. I mean, I'm not.
Look at that.
It might be more feasible that I'll own one of these one day, and I totally would. Maybe that's when I finally keep a Reverso forever. I don't know, but I just really would love to own a piece of enamel from a great manufacturer. But if an independent watchmaker, took a modern, movement from Piaget or JLC or whatever, or Patek or whatever, Blanc, I don't even care. And they just, they painted their own enamel dials or sold the enamel dials separately, only to be fitted on a certain model of watch by commission only. I would do it in a heartbeat. I would do it in a heartbeat. I really would. I would take one of my own watches or buy a watch. I would buy a Breguet if I knew that I don't know how much it costs, but I don't know how much an enameler would charge for a hand-painted dial. I don't know, or a hand-baked dial, rather. I don't know, but I would do it in a heartbeat.
So I've the Reverso, I think, is interesting, and why I like it is, one, you actually get the watch.
Yeah.
And then the other side is literally just this piece of enamel art. To me, it's almost in a weird way. I look at it as like when you engrave the back of a watch.
It's the same thing.
This is your little piece of you, that you're kind of having on the watch. Granted, you're buying it like this. You're not picking the enamel necessarily. I don't think you are.
Well, neither with Patek. You're not picking the enamel.
No, of course. You're getting it, but it's definitely, but the Patek, it's like that's the watch. The Reverso, it's like, I'm wearing the watch.
Yeah.
And you flip it, and it's like, this is a piece of art. Like, it's really interesting. And what you just brought up, and I don't know if this is possible, and this might be a stupid thing to say. It's probably going to sound stupid, but let me say it to you. How cool would it be if you could almost like enamel the back, like the case back? You know what I mean? Like why would you want to enamel the case back? You never see
what
it.
You mean.
But that really,
why finish a movement? You never see it.
Okay.
You never see it, so I get what you mean. I think that so much of the fun for enamel watch for me would be not just for me to see it, but now that they'll even know what it is, because no one will know what it is. If I ever got allocated that watch, if I ever bought that watch at auction, meaning the Patek, which is my favorite, at auction, I would end up, no one would know that it was an expensive watch. They would say, oh, that's a really neat watch. That reminds me of when I was a kid, I had a Swatch that looked just like that.
Yeah.
And I would never correct them. I would never say, well, this is very different. This is a Patek. No, I would say, right? Like, I think about my first Swatch all the time, and that playfulness and being a child, and it's the best. It's
my favorite thing of watches.
Did you have this? Is this from when you were a kid? I'd say, no, I actually just got this, and this really brings me back.
Yeah.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. That's actually why I bought it.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, that's really neat. And no one would know you just spent what was probably, $100 or $150,000 on a watch. Nobody would know, right? Unless you're at a watch meetup. And if you're at a watch meetup, then let's get real. Like, whatever. Yeah. Who cares? Who has the biggest, right? Like, I don't care. It's never you, right? It's never you. So I don't care. But yeah.
The last thing that I just wanted to bring up here, and not an enamel watch, but while we're talking about interesting case styles or interesting dial materials, the one watch that I love is the Atelier Wen porcelain dials.
Yes.
These are sold out. Atelier Wen workers or employees, if you're watching this, please somehow, try to re-release these.
For sure. I remember when they had
love them. It reminds me of like a Chinese checker, and I know that there's definitely a big Asian influence in the brand. So I enjoy that, but it's definitely not your typical dial material that you're going to see out in public or in the world. But I just love how clean it looks.
Well, because porcelain, like enamel, has a texture that is just, not replicable. Like that's it. Like it's unique. It's a creaminess. There's a flatness, but also a reflective nature. It's totally different, and obviously their nuance, the perception is a beautiful one. Obviously, kind of a child in the Genta movement, but totally unique, really in and of itself. And I really, really love it. And the dial, the hand guilloche is incredible. I know we're being a little bit tangential here, but we actually have a video coming out soon, a film coming out soon about the perception. But you're right. The original Atelier Wen dials, those porcelain dials, were incredible.
Yeah, love them.
So that's it. I mean, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you loved it, then go ahead and like it. And if you'd like more content from Theo and Harris, go become a member over on the Zero, which is our little private community where we are constantly sharing behind the scenes information and commentary on the watch industry that we wouldn't necessarily publish here. I can't possibly answer all the YouTube comments. It's just not feasible, but I do answer all of the comments and DMs over on the Zero. So I'd love if you became a member. I'd love to meet you on over there. And that's it. If you do become a member, shoot me a DM. And I'm looking forward to seeing you then.
See everyone soon.
Boom. Watches are unimportant to the time. They can't speed, slow, or stop it, and our phones tell it better. But as vessels for memories, they know few rivals.